One day after turning 19, a teenager stepped onto the biggest stage in football and won the penalty that sent his country into the World Cup final. Not a veteran, not a superstar with a decade of experience behind him, a 19-year-old on his birthday weekend in a World Cup semi-final, doing something players 3 times his age dream about. This is the story of Lamine Yamal and how he just rewrote what it means to be young in football's biggest tournament. Welcome back. Spain just won the 2026 World Cup, their second title in history, but one of the biggest stories of the entire tournament wasn't the trophy itself. It was a teenage winger from Barcelona who arrived already breaking records and somehow left the tournament having broken even more. Today, we're breaking down exactly how Lamine Yamal turned a World Cup that didn't even start smoothly for him into one of the most historic individual runs a young player has ever had.
Here's something most fans don't know. Yamal's tournament almost didn't start the way legends usually start theirs. He came off the bench in Spain's opening match, a scoreless draw against World Cup debutants Cape Verde, dealing with fitness issues that had disrupted his lead up to the tournament. It wasn't the dramatic opening chapter anyone expected from one of the most hyped young players on the planet. Then came his first World Cup start against Saudi Arabia. It took him just 10 minutes to score, becoming Spain's second youngest scorer on the final stage in the process. From that moment, the tournament shifted. Yamal became Spain's primary creative threat on the right flank, using his close control and pace to consistently unsettle defenders far more experienced than he was. The signature moment came in the semi-final against France. One day after turning 19, Yamal made a sharp run onto a loose ball that forced a mistimed tackle, winning a crucial penalty at a decisive stage of the match. It made him one of the youngest players in decades to win a penalty in a World Cup knockout game, and it helped send Spain into the final. By the time the tournament ended, Yamal had started 6 matches, played nearly 500 minutes, and led the entire World Cup in one specific statistic: completed dribbles, with 30 successful take-ons, more than any other player in the competition.
Here's a fact that puts his age into perspective. When Yamal started the World Cup final, he became the 3rd youngest player ever to appear in a World Cup final, trailing only Pelé and a handful of others in the entire history of the tournament. Here's another wild one. The final itself created a piece of history almost nobody talks about. Lionel Messi and Lamine Yamal started on opposite sides of that match, separated in age by more than 20 years, the largest age gap ever between 2 starters in a World Cup final. And one more remarkable detail. By winning this World Cup at 19, Yamal became the first player under the age of 20 to capture both a major European championship and a World Cup title, following his UEFA Euro 2024 win with this triumph. Comparisons to Pelé and Messi at similar ages aren't just hype anymore. Statistically, he's already ahead of the pace both of them set.
So why does this matter beyond the record books? Because World Cups are usually remembered as tournaments for players in their prime, players in their late 20s who've spent years building toward this exact moment. Yamal flipped that script entirely. He didn't just participate at 19, he created the single biggest moment of Spain's championship run at 19. That changes the timeline for how we think about generational talent in football. The question is no longer whether Yamal will be great someday. He already was, on the sport's biggest stage, before he could legally rent a car in most countries. From coming off the bench in a scoreless opener to winning a match-defining penalty one day after his birthday to lifting the World Cup itself, Lamine Yamal's 2026 tournament is already being talked about as one of the great teenage runs in football history. And for a player this young, this is likely just the beginning. If you enjoyed this breakdown, hit subscribe, because we're covering the biggest breakout stars and storylines of this World Cup all year long. Let me know in the comments if you think Yamal can become the best player of his generation, and I'll see you in the next video.